2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Das ist mein erster Vortrag.
So this is my first lecture ever, so please bear with me. Some compassion, please.
Also ich fange kämpferisch an. Liebe
I
Gäste,
want to
liebe
start with
Kameradinnen
a
und atheistischen
fighting
Geister.
note. Dear comrades in the atheist spirit,
In meinem Namen und im Namen der Aktivisten
on behalf
und
of the
Aktivistinnen des
activists of the Center for Civil
Zentrums für
Courage,
Verein aus Kroatien,
this is an
begrüße ich Sie
association
ganz
in Croatia. I would like to
herzlich und
welcome
danke
you
Ihnen
very
für die
warmly. I would like to thank you for
Einladung zu
inviting
dieser
me
atheistischen
to this
Konvention.
atheist convention.
Ich erinnere mich,
I
2010
remember that
waren
back
mein
in
Mann und ich zum
2010, my
ersten Mal
husband
an
and
einer
I,
atheistischen Konvention.
we
Das
took
war
part in an atheist convention for the
Kopenhagen.
first time. That
Da
was
waren wir
in
sehr
Copenhagen.
begeistert
And we were
von dieser
really
neuen
enthusiastic
Welt,
about this
wo
new
wir
world,
endlich unsere Vorbilder trafen,
where we were
mit
able to
anderen
meet
Personen
our
redeten
idols,
und,
and we were able to,
neue
our role
Gesichter aus
models, and we were able to
verschiedenen
speak
Ländern,
with people from different
kennenlernten,
countries, and we got to know
interessante
them,
Vorträge
and we heard
zum
interesting
Zuhören. Und was
presentations.
mir am wichtigsten erscheint, und
And
ich
what
glaube, das ist auch jetzt
seems
wieder
very
der Fall,
important to me, and this is the case
dass
again
ich-
here, I
dass
think,
dass wir uns wohlgefühlt
and that
haben
is
zwischen
that we
Gleichgesinnten.
felt at ease
Also
because we
wohl und
were
sicher.
among
Also
people
wir
who were like
konnten
us,
gleiche Erfahrungen
like-minded
austauschen
people. We
und
had the
sich
possibility to
gegenseitig
exchange
Mut machen
experiences and
und
encourage
auch miteinander
ourselves,
lachen und
mutually
neue
laugh
Ideen
with each other,
sind eingeflossen
and
und wir
come
haben
up with new
voneinander
ideas. And we learned from each other.
gelernt. Ich möchte mich noch einmal bei Ihnen vorstellen.
I would
Mein
like to
Name ist
introduce
Nada
myself.
Peratovic.
I'm Nada
Ich bin,
Peratovic.
Juristin,
I'm a lawyer
feministische
by
und
profession, and I'm a
kommunistische Aktivistin,
feminist and humanist activist.
Repräsentantin der
I'm a
Atheist
representative of the
Alliance
Atheist
International,
Alliance International,
Menschenrechtsrat der
and in
Vereinten
the
Nationen.
Human Rights Council of the United Nations. And since last summer, I've also been an author of the children's book Humanism for Children. The book was written in Croatian language, and it was translated into German and English. And without my knowledge, it was also translated into Burmese. I heard that, and I would like to tell you an anecdote right away. A young man contacted me through Facebook, and he said he's just translating my book. And I said, okay, very nice. I'm very pleased. And then I asked, what about the author's rights? And he said, well, Nada, if you knew how many books are translated here without the authors being aware of it, ever. Well, in any case, I'm going to show you a photograph of what it looks like in Burmese. It's also being translated into Russian and to Greek. It's been translated already into Italian. We're just looking for a publishing house to publish it. I'm speaking on behalf as a founder and chair of the Center for Civil Courage.
Und jetzt machen wir mal ein Bild hier. Aha, das wäre Center
So
for Civil
this
Courage.
is it, the Center
Und
for
jetzt
Civil
fragt
Courage.
ihr euch vielleicht,
And you may be
wieso
wondering,
Civil Courage, wieso nicht
why civil courage?
Atheisten Kroatiens oder
Why isn't it called
Freidenker
the
oder was
Croatian
weiß ich?
Atheists or
Ja, ich
free
möchte
thinkers?
euch da ein paar Zitate geben,
I would like
die ich
to
sehr
tell you
wichtig
why,
finde,
quoting
die
something I find very
ein bisschen erklären,
important,
wieso wir
and I would like to
so einen
explain
Namen
you why we opted for that
ausgedacht haben.
name.
Die Zivilcourage ist, wie
Civil
mein Freund und
courage,
ein bekannter
as a
Philosoph aus
friend of
Boston
mine who's a
sagen
philosopher
würde,
from
das
Bosnia
ist Professor
said,
Esad
and that's
Beitar,
Professor
er
Esad
sagt,
Beitar,
die
he said that
Zivilcourage
civil
ist ein Buch,
courage
welches von der Vernunft
is
und
an
unserem
action
Gewissen geführt wird.
that is guided by our
Und
knowledge
welches
and
uns
by
die Würde
reason,
eines Wesens verschafft,
and that gives
eines
us the
Wesens,
dignity
welches
of a
fähig ist
human
zu wählen
being which is
und
able
somit
to
dem
choose
Schicksal Nein zu sagen.
and to say no
Also wir
against
haben
fate.
die Wahl, wir
So
können
we really
wählen,
have a choice. We
unser
can
Tun können wir
choose.
auswählen, was
We
wir
can
machen
choose
müssen, was wir
our
nicht machen
actions,
möchten.
what we
Wir
want to
müssen
do,
uns
what we
nicht
don't want to
dem
do.
Konformismus,
We don't have to
geben
surrender to
und
conformism,
einfach wie die Mehrheit sein. Und wir sind auch,
and we
wir
don't
sind
have
auch
to be
hier
like the
jetzt mal
majority.
diejenigen, die nicht die Mehrheit sind.
And we are not
In einer
representing the majority
religiösen
here.
Gesellschaft sind
In
wir
a
diejenigen,
religious
die eine
society,
Minderheit sind
we are in a minority.
diejenigen, die in dem Sinne eine Zivilcourage gezeigt haben
And
oder
we have
zeigen
showed
sollten,
civil courage, or should display it at least.
wie er weiter sagt,
Because, as my friend says,
das Gewissen lässt uns die Wahl, aber
our
auch die
conscience leaves us the
Verantwortung,
choice, but also leaves the
das
responsibility up to
Rechte
us
zu tun
to do the right
und
thing.
ungeachtet des Unwesens, des Horrors, das uns
even in the face of horror that might confront us. There are many thinkers like Giordano Bruno who, although they knew what would await them, they were courageous enough to embark on their own path and to fight for what they believed in. This is also civil courage. Only those people show civil courage who are not courageous enough to be a coward towards themselves. And this is also our motto, our slogan. This is why civil courage is a democratic imperative of our times. The Center for Civil Courage is a free thought and feminist organization which was founded in November 2011. Was founded in Croatia in 2011. We promote civil courage, the evolutionary humanism. Giordano Bruno is where we copied it from, where we took that idea from. We also promote and protect human rights, particularly women's rights, and LGBT people. We are strong when it comes to promoting secularism, feminist activism, and critical and free thinking around scientific and rational findings. This center is also a full member of the Atheist Alliance International, the International Atheist Union, and also the European Humanist Federation since last week. As promised, I only have 20 minutes left. I would like to speak about the situation in my country, the importance or the position of secularism in Croatia, particularly the challenges that this brings about for us as non-religious people, so that we can get a better understanding of why we founded this center and why we called it that way, and why we carry out projects I'm also going to present to you briefly. Many of you know, maybe those who are very young don't know, but that Croatia was one of the republics of socialist Yugoslavia. And in Yugoslavia, atheism was prescribed or imposed by law. I don't know how things stood after the war in the 60s or 70s, but I remember that in the 80s, towards the end of the 80s, the beginning of the 90s, before the war broke out, religious freedom was strengthened and people were able to live their religion freely. 5 years before the wars, at least everybody was allowed to speak freely. And many atheists overnight turned into faithful. There's a saying, and that goes that religion, I would also like to say that religion is very closely linked to our nation. So a Croat is always a Catholic, a Serb is an Orthodox, and a Muslim. The Bosnians are Muslims. I'm from Bosnia, but I'm not a Muslim, so this is just the general perception. But what I want to say is that this is what people think, and there's an anecdote which goes as follows. Small children are baptized when they are small, and then very religious Catholics get baptized when they're adults already, at age 20 or 30. Suddenly they have that they feel that strength to become Catholics or think they are bigger than the Pope. In Croatia, the problem is the following. The biggest problem I see is not the number of people that are declared Catholic, it's 86%, but it has been rooted in society. There's the expectation that everybody who's Croat is a Catholic. And if ever you deviate from that standard, be it you are a Croat but you're an atheist, or you are not heterosexual, whatever deviates from the standard is deemed to be different and of less value. Croatia is associated with the Holy Seat in a very unfavorable way. We have 4 concordats that really restrict us, and thanks to these agreements with the Church, with Rome, the Catholic Church has a lot of privileges. The teachers are paid by the state, for instance. It's 1,500,000 euros is the amount that was paid to the Catholic Church by the state so far. It's an amount that is paid on an annual basis. And there's a recession in the country. People are really living in the streets. But we know who gets the money, that's for sure. That's just a fact. The school system in the 90s, the religious teaching was introduced, and I would just like to tell you why we are carrying out the projects we are carrying out. Religion as a subject can be chosen or not. But there's a contract with the Bishops' Conference, and in that contract it was introduced that religious education is not obligatory, but then you have subjects like French, for instance, that are not obligatory. But those children who want to take part in these classes can go home and can come back later. In religious education, however, that's different. Oh, okay. So religious education, the class takes place in between other obligatory lessons, and that's different from the other non-obligatory subjects. So, for instance, if you don't want to take part in religious education lessons, you have to wait outside. And the children are just sitting outside, nobody takes care of them. And they are even subject to bullying. Maybe they're Serbs, or even worse, they're atheists. So this is why it's understandable that many parents don't dare, and this is where our civil courage comes in, parents don't dare to not register for a religious education class for their children. So the children are just sent to religious education just because parents don't want them to be discriminated, to be treated as if they were different. And this really is a problem. And in our center, we try to encourage people, to make them understand that somebody has to take the first step. So there's an increasing number of parents who join in. They don't send their children to religious education. And we say that the more children drop out of religious education, the more the school authorities will be coerced, will be forced to accept our children. We don't want them to come up saying, oh my God, there are children who don't take part in religious education class. What are we going to do with them? But they have to be taken into account right from the beginning. Okay, there will be children who are not going to take part in religious education class. What can we offer them? How can we give them? We want to make sure that these children have the same rights as those children who take part in the religious education classes. So the problem is not only the religious education as such, but the penetration, the omnipresence of religion. when children start going to school, there are processions they have to take part in, or the priest comes to talk to them. And also the textbook for the Croat language, there is a religious song. We are not opposing to that. But let me change the slide. I'm going to explain this to you in a moment. If next to the religious song in the textbook, the question would be raised, how do you experience your faith, for instance? What question is that? And this is a textbook on language, and these questions are in there. So why that? And we understand that people try to defend themselves against this kind of question, particularly parents who are secular. And this is also embedded in the Constitution, secularism. But there are parents who also want this to see implemented in practice. I would like to show you up at the bottom, this is the Prime Minister and his wife. And in the front we see the former president and his wife, and they go, this is Mass, they go to church, and well, they even kiss the bishop's feet. On the right-hand side, you see a Maria statue in a school. And the school principal put this thing there, and there was a mother who contacted us, and we didn't manage for it to be removed, but that it was covered, this statute. We can't expect more to be done. And this is what we explain to the parents. One person is enough who takes action, who at least calls us and tells us, and we can take action. And we can say, okay, we're going to take care of that. We're going to get in touch with the Prime Minister, we're going to write him. And we need these people who defend themselves against that, and they are faced with problems. There was a very recent case where two teachers refused for a priest to be present at the graduation ceremony, holding service, holding a mass. And they're really subject to very negative consequences. And they turn to us, and again we're going to write a letter to the ministry. Because the only thing that's left for us to do, and we can do, is to raise our voices. Because our government isn't very active. The Social Democrats are in power at the moment, but that doesn't mean anything. We hoped a lot when they came into office, but they are greater cowards than we are, and they are opportunists. They don't want to deal with that matter at all. The church, of course, doesn't pay taxes. The church gets money. The state pays for the teachers, although the Bishops' Conference appoints the teachers. And here you see the texts from the textbooks. When you learn the infinitive, you learn a very nice song, which is called In the Face of the Lord. In our language, you learn that the Lord ordered you to work, for instance, and this is how they learn the infinitive. And this really annoys us, because we know what that means. It's an indoctrination of our children. And we think that this is unacceptable. We don't want to be led up the garden path. And on the right-hand side, at the top, this is from the religious education book for the 8th grade. It's a chapter on atheism, and it is explained that atheism is bad, And then John Paul II is quoted that people who are raised atheists are usually those that are responsible for Auschwitz, for the concentration camps. Well, these are beautiful quotes by John Paul II. We all love that much. Well, so this is what really drives us. And the question is, what is taught to the children in religious education classes? Is that, from a historic point of view, to start with, this is inaccurate, to say the least.
Wie gesagt, wir können auf unsere Regierung nicht zählen, aber
we cannot count on our governments. But we get louder, and our group of agnostics, humanists, secular people, etc. gets bigger and bigger. This is Secularna. Religious people are afraid of this word Secularna, a secular person. They don't know that secularism is something that also protects them. This is something, it's not a one-way road. It doesn't only protect us, the non-religious, but it also protects the religious people. I would just like to see what would happen if we lived in a theocracy, what the religious people would say. Then, this was an event where we supported the government so that sexual education and health education would finally be taught at school, and the church was opposed to that. I don't want to take up too much time, but I would like to say nevertheless that the situation is as follows. On the one hand, people get increasingly courageous, but on the other hand, there's an increasing number of people who declare that they are atheists openly and humanists. But there are also many religious people who don't like what the church stands for, this sexist, homophobe positioning. People can't increasingly not identify with that anymore. And these are the people we count on. We want to explain to them that we will not be a problem for them. But we want them to know that faith is, or religion is something private. And that it's in the interest of all the citizens that secularism should be our highest good. And we should protect it also against the church, from the church. In the last few years in particular, one part of the religious people turned to the very conservative part, and this side is what the church supports. 2 years ago there was a referendum, and in our constitution it is now stipulated that a marriage can only take place between a man and a woman. And there are many things that I think come from the West or from the US. And in front of the hospitals, they pray during 40 days for the unborn life. I mean, this is what we think is US-based, where this comes from. And what is very fashionable at the moment is to refer to your conscience. No abortions anymore. A whole hospital just refuses abortions and based on a question of conscience. And even if somebody wants to have some medication, for instance, if you go to a pharmacy, they refuse to give you a certain medication, and they say, I don't want to give you a certain prescription, a certain medication, it's against my religion. There's a trend that is getting stronger. It's just a matter of question, we think. Until our so far liberal law, we don't call it artificial fertilization because it's not artificial, we call it supported fertilization by medicine. So we only wait for that law to be withdrawn again for religious reasons. It's just a matter of time until abortion after week 10 will be prohibited. The Church has been trying to achieve that for 20 years. And if ever the time was in favor of the Church, it is now. So because the trend is there to always protect the unborn life. And there's also this attitude against homosexuals. Even if you take normal posters, they show two Marias, and they are made fun of, or this is just an artistic cartoon, for instance, and this is unaccepted. So there's one part of religious people which is who have become very extreme. Then there are people who are ambiguous and are torn between the family tradition, the Church, and their own convictions, based on reason. Okay, we can all celebrate Christmas, and Christmas gifts are nice, but that's enough. That was the referendum, and the question was the following: are you in favor of a marriage between a man and a woman? And of course you say yes. And of course we were against, because we had to say no. And our center also wrote a letter to the Constitutional Court requesting that the referendum was declared against the Constitution. But it didn't happen. The Constitutional Court says this question can be asked that way, and the referendum was binding. So very quickly, I don't know how much time I've left, but very quickly on our projects. As you can see, we started to lead humanistic workshops for children. These are safe spaces. Spaces where children can say freely what they think, where they experience humanistic values and can experience critical thinking. We have workshops for that deals more with atheist and humanistic topics, and another one that deals with scientific aspects. The first workshop was organized because we wanted those children who don't take part in religious education classes can't meet, so that they get the impression that they know they're not alone, as in school. There are also other children who go through the same thing. We wanted them to have the possibility to exchange experiences, we wanted them to be informed about their rights. The rights they have at school, for instance. Or do they have to pray? Do they have to participate in prayers in the kindergarten? We wanted to teach them how to display civil courage. And this is already the second year. Our center works with 10 people actively, so we have 10 people who work for us actively, and then we have some more non-active members. We don't get any funding, any state funding. We don't get anything. Everything I'm going to show you is based on our own commitment and our own work. It's totally voluntary and unpaid. Here you see a natural science workshop. We have children who took part from age 13, 14, and they showed the smaller children scientific experiments. That was really exciting. We also created some posters and we protested. As a demonstration, and the children liked that very much. They demonstrated against school or whatever. But they really enjoyed it. They wanted to take to the streets. We didn't want to. I didn't want to at the beginning. I said, okay, let's do that, because they absolutely wanted to demonstrate. So this is our Secular Courage Advisory Center or Consulting Center. It's online. People can go through our information, all the information on religious education. If they don't want for their child to go to religious education class any longer, they have to write an official letter before the term is over, before the end of the school year. You just can't do that in September. In Croatia, the school year starts in September. You can't do that in September. You have to do that before, and many people don't know that. This is a little bit conformistic thinking. People used to say, oh, you don't learn anything bad in religious education. You learn things about religion. No, you don't learn things about religions. You just are taught one religion and you don't learn anything about that religion. And it is even just written in the syllabus of the Catholic Church. You're not given information, but you're introduced to faith. That's very nice for somebody who's faithful, but if you are not a believer, the question is if that has to be that way. And we ask that question to the parents, and the parents have to decide. So parents can turn to us, and parents come up to us. And this is also how we met the mother who complained about the Maria statute. So this is my book, Humanism for Children. It's a book that speaks about humanistic and feminist values. Human rights values, excuse me. Human rights are explained. The definition is explained in the first part. Humanism, atheism. Theism. I don't know if you endorse that, but for me, atheism tells me more what I am not, and it doesn't tell me what I am. And I wanted to explain the children, it's not true that atheists don't believe in anything, as people say. We believe in many things. There's art, there's science, there's music, there's philosophy. There are many things we have, and there are also human rights and compassion and responsibility for each other and solidarity vis-à-vis other people. And this is what I try to explain with that book. And the book is also the basis for the workshops. I try to convey to the children that they are responsible for each other, that everybody can think what he or she wants, and critical thinking is key. And also what I write, and I also invite them to analyze critically and think critically about what I write in that book. And also a question about LGBT people, homosexuals. I have an 11-year-old daughter, and I can tell you from my own experience. Unfortunately, we live in a state in which we have to explain the societal context to the children. You have to explain the children. We are atheists, and the majority are theists. But we have the right to do this or that, and other people have a different attitude. Homophobia is very strong in Croatia, and we explain that to the children. For children, I mean, love is love. You don't have to explain a lot, but you have to explain hatred, because hatred induces fear. And my personal opinion is that I like to explain to her, to my daughter, what to expect from the outside world, but that shouldn't shock you or make you change your mind, or you've got your own opinion. opinion.
Also konformistische
And don't surrender to that hatred-based and conformist attitude.
Nur noch sehen, habe ich noch etwas.
Oh, just let me see if I've got more.
Das ist Schluss, oder? Das ist das Schluss schon.
No, so that's the end of my presentation.
Ja, das bin ich
This
im
is
World
me
Humanist Congress
on the
letztes
occasion of the
Jahr.
World Humanist Congress
Ein
last
Buch
year.
bekommen.
I was
Das ist
given
das
a book.
aus Burma.
This is the Burmese book. I just wanted to show you.
Die in Burma lernen jetzt zum
So the
Beispiel über
Burma
Sophie Scholl.
children now
Also
learn
das
about
ist-
Sophie Scholl, who she was.
Okay, das ist unsere Frauenorganisation.
So this is
Lilith
our
Club. Also da
feminist
muss ich nicht
organization, the
erklären,
Lilith
wer
Club. I
war.
don't have to explain you who
Das
Lilith
werden wir
was.
nächstes Mal. Ja, so sieht das aus.
Another time.
Und das sind wir.
So this is what it looks like. This is
Und
us.
wir haben auch dieses Sophie Scholl
And we also have the Sophie
Wir
Scholl
sind auch
legacy.
darauf aus, dass wir hatten ja Krieg in
There was
Kroatien,
war
und wir sind
in
darauf
Croatia.
aus, die Verantwortung für Kriegsverbrechen so, dass man die,
we
dass man
want
die benennt,
for
benennt
the
und dass man
perpetrators
die
to be
Verantwortung
held
unserer
responsible.
Gesellschaft gegenüber allen
And we want to
allen Opfern gleichgültig, ob es welche Nationalität
achieve
ist. Und das ist, also
that all the victims are
das
paid
fühlen wir
tribute to,
auch
no matter
als Verein, dass das
where
uns
they
auch
come
wichtig
from.
ist.
And this is also important for us
Zuletzt,
as an
also,
association,
ich
as a
hoffe,
center.
Was ich
Last but not
warum ich
least,
hierher gekommen bin
and
und
the reason why I've come
ist
here
einfach, ich hoffe, dass wir miteinander
is that I hope
in Kontakt
that
bleiben
we
und
can
dass
stay in
wir,
touch with each other.
Dass wir immer lauter werden
And
für
that our
diejenigen,
voices get
das ist
louder
ein
and
Prinzip der
louder.
feministischen
This has always been a principle of feminist solidarity.
Solidarität, dass wir laut sind für diejenigen, die es nicht laut
We
sein
want to
können,
be
dass wir
loud on behalf of those
sind,
who can't.
hier zum Beispiel, die stark genug sind
We
und
want
die
to be
gegen das Unrecht kämpfen,
those
für
who are strong
diejenigen,
enough to
die,
fight injustice.
keinen Mut haben oder keine Kraft, es zu
In
tun.
the
Weil
name of
das
those
ist
who
unser
don't have the
Ziel
power
unserer
or the strength to do it.
Organisation.
This is the
Und ich
aim of
hoffe,
our
mit anderen
organization.
Organisationen oder mit
And I
anderen
hope that
Leuten, die
together with
daran
other
interessiert
organizations
sind,
or other people who are
etwas
interested,
Internationales zu machen
that we
und so. Wir
can
stehen
set
Ihnen
up
zur
something
Verfügung und ich
international.
danke Ihnen
We
vielmals,
are at your disposal,
fürs
and I
Zuhören.
thank you very
Danke
much for
vielmals.
listening to me.